Can I take protein powders on board a cruise ship? Can I take Walkie Talkies? And if I do, will they work?
These are just some of the questions that people ask about cruising.
Stick with us. We're going to go through some more.
I got what you want. Honey, honey, I got what you need. Honey, I got what you want.
Hi, we are Rob and Ali, sharing with you our passion of all things cruise and travel.
Now, one of the questions we get asked quite a lot is, do we book our own cruises or do we go through a travel agent? Well, the answer is we go through a travel agent. We have a fantastic travel agent who does a lot of work for us. I'm going to give them a plug, actually. It's Kat and the team at Forest Lake Flight Centre. They are brilliant. You get a good travel agent and they will do all the heavy lifting for you. We can't praise them highly enough.
We must just say that we are not affiliated
Absolutely.
to Flight Centre at all, and we're not plugging them in any way. However, they happen to be our local travel agent, and we're very grateful to them.
Yes. And as such, we ask them what are the top questions they get asked by people coming in looking to book a cruise. They've given us a list of questions, and we are going to give you our answers to those questions.
Now, a little bit like, I feel like we're kind of school teachers. We weren't actually given the answers. We were only given the questions, so they didn't give away the answers that they give. However, we kind of thought, these are really interesting, and these are the answers that we would give from the experience we've had on going on lots and lots of cruises. So we don't know everything, but these are some of the answers that we've got for you. So things like, so the first one is taking cans of drink on board. You might not even know this, but you can take, I think it's normally about 12 cans of drink per person on board your cruise, and that's most cruise operators.
Most cruise lines will allow you to take 12 cans per person of non-alcoholic beverages. Now, that doesn't have to be soft drinks or sodas. It can be water. You can get water in cans. And it can be non-alcoholic beers as well. We take non-alcoholic beers.
And I've also now found non-alcoholic, they're kind of grown-up, I don't know how to describe them, like a grown-up spritzer.
Yeah.
And they come in these small cans, and they are delicious. They're
and wines
lovely.
As well. You can get non-alcoholic wines
Yes.
as well. Yeah. So basically, any non-alcoholic drink. Most cruise lines will stipulate the size of the cans, and they limit them to 375 ml. But check out the individual cruise lines to see if there's any size or quantity limits.
Now, they don't like you to have them already packed in kind of the cellophane packs or all packed together. They like them to be loose so they can sort of check them out, make sure that you haven't sort of screwed the bottom off them and got something else stuffed inside them, I guess.
Take them in your carry-on luggage. Do not pack them in your baggage. We made that mistake once. The checked-in bags go through a scanner, and if you have some cans or bottles in there, it will get picked up on the scanner. Now, they won't open your case and have a look. They will put them on one side and call you to the naughty room once you're on board, and it could be several hours later once they've got all sorted out, and you will have to go and please explain. So
take them on the
a lot
check-in.
easier just to put them in your hand baggage.
And another plus point about taking your own cans is about the high energy drinks. Some of you who are non-drinkers or drinkers like the high energy drinks, and they're often, actually they're more expensive than the actual alcoholic drink that you're mixing them with. So you can take those, especially if you have a favourite and you're not sure whether that particular high energy
Red
drink.
Bull or the Monster.
Yeah, well, people love that with a whiskey or something, and that's their favourite tipple. And it's not the same, is it, if you go on your cruise and you can't get the mixer that you want? So bear that in mind. 12 cans is pretty good.
It's a good way to save a little bit of money by taking them on board as well.
Yeah. Now, can you also take your own water bottle on board? And can it be a Yeti?
Yes, is the basic answer. However, I'll proviso that in that it must be empty. So you can take your water bottle on board, and you can take your Yeti on board. For those who don't know, a Yeti is one of those stainless steel insulated drinks that keeps your drinks hot or cold for 24 hours. Something like that.
We have them.
We take
Love
those.
them.
Yeah, we take those because I'll get her coffee at night, gets a couple of coffees, puts them in the insulated flask, and then that's ready for the morning. Saves a trip to the cafe.
Now, you'd think, why don't they just get room service and get the coffee brought? Well, you can get tea and coffee brought for room service that you normally pay a little bit extra for. Sometimes it's complimentary depending on the cruise ship. However, that tends to be the pots of coffee. So it's not the freshly brewed coffee that you get, the barista style with the barista milk. And I like that to wake up with and Robert and I. So, and of course, you don't have to have a time either if you've got your own. So I put it in that flask. And then those flasks you can then use in the day, filled with ice and nice cold water.
And your water,
so
especially if you're going off ship into a warm climate. Yes,
take one. It's well worth getting one of those. But the other thing about these things as well, about talking about Yetis, we have seen some people that have taken the, what do you call them?
Oh, the camelbacks.
The camelbacks with the tubes. Right, okay. And again, they're fine to take, but they have to be empty. I'm sorry, guys, but they are all over you if you think you're going to have that filled with vodka for the rest of your cruise that you or your favourite tipple in them. They're on to you, you see. So you can take them, but they have to be empty.
Yeah. Actually, I will just add there are some cruise lines that will take you will let you take a limited quantity of alcohol in terms of wine. So there are some cruise lines where you can take 1 bottle of wine per person on board with you. I know that wasn't one of the questions, but I'll just throw that one in there. But you can
do, always check it. You might, and if you've got something like champagne or something you want to take on board, it's definitely worth checking that even for 1 bottle, if you've got a special occasion or just that special dress-up night that you're going to have, that's nice to pop that bottle open on a special night. Now, is there any Boba tea, bubble tea, I call it, but it's Boba tea, which is the bubble teas that you get, the very milky teas with those little pearl things in, very, very sweet. People love them. When I say people, you guys, you can tell I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of them. Our daughters love them, and you get all the specialty flavours. It's kind of the experience.
Not my thing, but they are very popular.
And it's the experience of having them, because you pick what flavours, you pick what sort of tea, and then you pick what sort of pearls you have in it, and it's all it's the whole experience. And it is quite a specialised kind of drink. And yes, they do have them, not on board every cruise ship, but they definitely have them on the P&O.
They've just recently got them on the P&O ships, haven't they? Yeah.
Yes, they have them there. Pretty reasonably priced, because it's a little bit of a specialty drink for that. I guess, like anything, it depends on the ship. It depends on the ship, and it depends on the cruise line, but they do have them there.
Here's a suggestion, though. If you've got a cruise booked, hop onto one of the Facebook pages and ask the question out there. Somebody who is on the ship may be able to have a look or ask for you whilst they're actually on the ship.
Yeah. Now, your very first question, Robert, show those muscles off. Why did you want to know whether you could take your protein powder on board?
Yes, you can take protein powder on board a cruise ship. I'm not sure where I can go with this other than just say, yes, you can take protein powder on board a cruise ship.
You can. I think obviously it may be to do with how you can take it on board in canisters or whether you take it in the packets. Obviously, you're packing it away. You want to be careful how you package it in case if it's in a bag, it's going to split and go all over your clothes and everything. And if it's in a canister, the canisters will be fine. You can normally get the aluminium ones that have nice screw caps on them. It keeps it nice and dry.
I would suggest maybe you do keep it in its original packaging, though. Maybe not put it in, not put it in a Ziploc bag, because you might get asked a couple of questions.
Now, I was just going to say about the milks. So all the cruise ships will have buffet style sort of stations, and they will all have them so that you can get kind of teas and coffees, self-serve teas and coffees 24/7. So if you wanted sort of the nice ice cold water or milk, skimmed and normally just the regular milk, you will be able to get that. We haven't been on a cruise ship yet that has not had that facility. So if you like your protein powders with milks, that's where you'll be able to get it. Or
grab some during the day and put it in your Yeti.
Yeah, just shake it on up. And if you see one of our other videos, you'll see that you can now get you take the blenders that you can recharge just using the little cable, and they're so powerful. So if you want to take your protein powder and mix in a few fruits or things like that you like to mix in with
Yeah.
your protein powder, you're
Great
sorted.
idea.
5 years ago, you couldn't have done it, but now you can. You can put ice. You know, they're so strong, they will crush ice for you. So, yeah, if you've got your
you get a
protein
good one,
powders
yeah.
and some of them have all the multivitamins in, you're not going to miss out just going on a cruise. Next one, what about the Walkie Talkies?
Walkie Talkies. Yes, we have done this in the past, actually, especially when the children were younger. The problem that you have nowadays, though, is that the ships are getting bigger, and as you're probably aware,
They're all
ships
metal.
Ships are a big metal.
They're all metal.
It's a big metal, and metal tends to block out signals. So yes, you can take walkie-talkies on board. Will they work? That all depends. It's a trial and error. If you are on the top deck at the front of the ship and you're trying to contact somebody who's on a lower deck at the back of the ship, I would suggest probably no, you're not going to be able to get through. If you're between cabins, you've probably got a good.
I think if
or
you've
all
got
on the
good
same deck.
ones, I mean, I used to use them when Maddie was younger, in these massive parks. I mean, you know, kind of like Disneyland kind of size parks that you've got, theme parks, to keep in touch and make sure that you weren't lost, and things like that. And they're excellent for that. But as we said, because these ships are all metal and they're huge, the signal might not be so good. Now, they do on the
That's
apps.
true.
All the cruise ships now have apps where you can get in contact with each other you kind of friend each other, and then you can send messages to each other and say
chats
chat.
or messages. Yeah, absolutely.
So you say, I'm here, or normally the question is, where are you? Where are you? Now, the only thing with this is they don't seem to be instant. So they're sort of relayed from the Wi-Fi that they've got on the ship. And the same thing, you can kind of go, where are you? I'm waiting outside the restaurant. And your fellow passengers might not get that for kind of 10 minutes. So you will be sort of waiting. And they don't seem to, it doesn't ring or ping in the same way that your phone normally rings or pings to let you know somebody's trying to
Some
get
of them,
in touch with
some
you.
of them do have an alarm on or a.
We
some don't.
found
It
them
varies.
very hit and miss, and we do sometimes just still use the telephones in our rooms. So if we're all back in our rooms and we want to say, you know, are you ready to go for dinner yet? Or how long are you going to be? We just actually still use the old landlines.
Or the good old-fashioned sort of make an arrangement before you go.
Nobody ever says time is just goes out the window.
Talking
on
of
the
time,
ship.
we better crack on with these questions.
Anyway.
What else have we got?
Wheelchair assistance. So if one person in the group has wheelchair assistance for embarkation and disembarkation, and there are about 3 or 4 cabins, so a family travelling together, this sounds like a very specific question, but actually a lot of times somebody in a party of people may not need a wheelchair for the whole duration of the holiday. It's just for that long kind of faffing around and standing and waiting, and the journey to get from the terminal where you've checked in along the long gangway to get on
Especially if there's big
board,
queues as well.
that you will need assistance. And I'm thinking, you know, my own parents, you know, they've got dodgy knees and things, and they wouldn't thank you normally for a wheelchair. However, in those occasions, they're just like, right, just going to have to give up to it. I just can't stand for that long. And there'll be a lot of you guys out there like us, where those situations will happen. And I guess the worry is that if you're all together as a family, is it just that couple with the wheelchair or whatever that are going to get the wheelchair assistance, get on, and then they're at the other end, Billy no mates again, kind of sitting there on their own, waiting for the rest of the family to join them, and kind of, I guess, I've just got visions of somebody in a wheelchair left going, where's the rest of my fam? Do I have to wait in this wheelchair for the rest? And basically what they're saying is they will try to accommodate you. Obviously, if you are there with 20 of you, they're not going to let all 20 of you go if they've got other big queues.
It's unlikely.
If you're the only people that have just turned up and the queues are going pretty quick, nobody's going to stop you, are they? But you just have to think about it. If you've got 1,000 people trying to get on board, they're not going to suddenly let, you know, these whole entourage go together. So they might let a small number of you go together.
Yeah, the people in the cabin, the people in the same cabin, you will be able to board together. If you've got 5 or 6 cabins booked as a group, You may or may not. It all depends on the cruise staff or the terminal staff at the day.
Yeah, and how things are panning out at the day.
It may, but don't bank on it. Is what we're saying.
Yeah. What restaurants are included in your fare, and which ones are at extra cost?
Okay, so on all cruises, you will have at least one sit-down included restaurant and one self-service buffet-style restaurant as a minimum, and they are included in your fare always. Quite often, there will be more than that. You'll have to check the ship, check the cruise line as to what's actually included, but there will be no need for you to spend additional money on food if you don't want to.
I'm holding in my smile here.
She's obviously got something to say.
Because Robert always corrects me when I call an interior cabin an indoor cabin. I always call them indoor. And they're all indoor, darling. Yes. It's just some are interior and some have balconies. Well, I'm going to say...
I wonder where you're going with this, because we're talking about restaurants.
All restaurants are sit down. You should sit all restaurants are sit down. What he means is waiter service.
Absolutely. That is exactly what I meant. She caught me, yeah. In terms of specialty restaurants as well, there will usually be at least one, quite often more, specialty dining. These are restaurants where you can pay extra and get a little bit sort of better food. Usually there will be a steakhouse. Quite often there will be something like a seafood or an Italian. Royal Caribbean have the Jamies on board. P&O have Luke Mangan's restaurant on board.
Japanese, Asian fusion. Specialty can mean kind of very broad, but normally it will be something like... what would you say, kind of higher class, higher end specialty, and then specialty as in things, as we were saying, like kind of Japanese or something like that kind of specialty, Italian,
actually
pizzeria.
And although
there's two sorts of specialty you can have.
There are, and what I was going to say is some charge by the item and some have a set price, so check that one out as well. And even the ones that like Luke Mangan, the Luke's Bar and Grill on the P&O, which is charged by the item, they have an embarkation day special that we are going to try out on our next cruise. Actually, you pay a one set fee and you get a 3-course meal with wine included. So check those out as well if you're interested.
Now, we've tried them all. So we've tried the buffet style, we've tried the inclusive dining, the sit down dining, the waiter service that's included, and we've also tried the specialty dining. And I have to say, we haven't been disappointed in any of it, apart from one restaurant on one ship that will not be named.
That is true.
That we just didn't think it was good value for money and a good experience. And we were able to get a refund on that with no problem at all. And that was the only time. So, yeah, they're definitely worth checking out. Yeah. But you don't have to spend money. But if you have a special occasion, they're good value for money normally and have a really lovely experience on them. Activities on board. Well, my goodness, where'd you start and where'd you finish with activities?
Exactly. There will generally be indoor activities, things like trivias and competitions, deck sports, things like shuffleboard. The number of activities that we couldn't go through every single activity. Different cruise lines have different activities. We do, though, have some sample daily activity sheets from different cruise lines in Australia. And actually overseas as well, the MSC one on Japan, on our website, www.robandali.net. Go to the library and have a look under there for the daily activity sheets. It will give you some idea about what sort of things are available on board.
And different cruise lines have, I guess, a leaning towards different sorts of activities. So sort of Carnival and P&O about family-friendly fun. So that's the way that's sort of the activities it's lending to. They'll have water slides and those kind of things included as well.
I've forgotten about all those sort of
all
things.
Those sort of activities. Yeah. Some of them have go-karts and roller coasters and, oh my goodness, all that kind of stuff included.
True.
Others will be more on the kind of the Cunard side, or the I guess like the Princess. That's more around things like talks. Like TED kind of talks and seminars, and maybe doing a little bit of arts and crafts and things like that, and more on maybe the luxury side of going to have a spa. So it just depends what's your thing.
We could go on all day, couldn't we, about the activities.
But what we can say is, if you pick the cruise line that suits you, there's so many things to do. You will not get bored. You know, even on a rainy, cold day, you'll find plenty of activities to do. Parties. We love a party, don't we?
We do.
So parties, things like, what it's saying is things like the White Party, the Gatsby Party. So some people, the travel agents are getting asked, like, how much do you have to get into that kind of thing? If you're not comfortable with it, do you have to kind of get dressed up? Do you have to take big specialty outfits? And do you have to partake in them? Are you going to miss out? Do you actually have to be part of it?
Actually, we'll answer the second part of that question first, is that you can take part in the parties whether you dress up in the theme or not. They are for everybody. It's not compulsory. You do not need to dress in that theme to take part and enjoy all the activities and the music and the dancing that goes along with it.
And nobody will look at you as though, you've lost your suitcase or something, like what's happened to you, you've forgotten your outfit. Yeah. It just doesn't work like that. Everybody just goes in their own thing. If you're dressed up and you want to go and get your photographs taken and be part of it.
Our experience,
Wonderful.
I would say, has probably been 50-50. Depends. If you go on a themed cruise, it'll probably be maybe higher on the dress up because that's why people have gone. If you've just got a theme night on a regular cruise, it will probably be less people that dress up because they've gone for the cruise rather than the actual theme night.
And one of the things we have said, I think, previously is you can be very clever with just some headgear. So you can kind of put together something really quite ordinary that you would normally wear. And like for a Gatsby, just put the headband on, just a simple black dress. You will look fine. And the guy can just have a trilby. And
Much
even just like a shirt and a pair of black pants, or even just a black t-shirt and black pants and the trilby on or something. You would look dressed up. You would look fine.
Little or as much as you want is basically there. There's no set rule.
And something like a white party, you don't have to spray. You don't just spray yourself from head to toe white. Just a white top again, or a pair of white pants, or don't.
Virgin have a red night as well.
Yes, yeah, and it's the same thing. Actually, do you know? Old Tricky Dicky, he did promoted when he was coming to Australia and they pulled out. They did a big promotion night and told everybody to turn up in red. Rob went along. You went along with a few other content creators and they all went along down to Sydney for the big opening night. Everybody in red, apart from old Richard Branson himself. Didn't. So, and it was like, what?
Anyway, I hadn't even noticed that.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and check the video.
I was like, how dare he tell everybody to wear red and then didn't wear red? So, but anyway, here's me telling you won't be called out, and I've just called him out. Anyway, you do you. You'll be more than welcome at every party, whether it's a theme party or not. Everybody will make you feel welcome. Paying for things using your cruise card. How does it work?
Oh, we've done an entire video on the cruise cards. Your cruise card is used for everything on board, with the exception of the casino. You can pay cash in the casino.
But you can use your card in your casino. That made it sound like you couldn't use it in the casino. It means you use it everywhere, and you can use cash in the casino.
Yes. If you think of your cruise card as basically a credit card or an FPOS, a debit card, one of those, you either put cash onto that account at the guest services or you link a debit or credit card, and everything that you purchase on board the ship, you use that card. It's also your room key. It's also your identification.
Yes, you don't get off the ship without taking it with you.
Yeah, they won't let
even
you
when you disembark, you have to disembark at the very end of your cruise. You have to have that.
They need to make sure that you've got off the ship and you're not stowing away. But
yes.
So that's what happens. Now, when that gets charged to your account varies between the cruise lines. P&O, for example, they will do a one-off debit every night from your particular linked card. If you've linked the card, they'll do that during the night. Carnival Cruise Line will just accrue them and they'll put a hold on your account. Be careful of holds on your account with Carnival because they sometimes take a while to come off. So it will appear that you're double charged when you get off the cruise ship, but half of them are there's one set that are holds and one payment to actual Carnival. They operate differently. If you put cash on your account at guest services, you avoid all of that. And then when your cash is gone, I guess. But yeah, that's how the cruise cards work. They are everything throughout the ship.
That's why you see people with the lanyards round their neck with the cards on, because you use them for everything. Because I say, even when you get off on port days, you have to have that card with you.
Actually, here's the thing as well. Under 18s generally have either a different colour or a different type of cruise cards, so that the staff can identify them, so that they can't sort of you can't have a 16 or
16-year-olds not
going up to
not
the
like
bar,
this
so.
going, yeah, but I look 18. Then
They're not going to get away with it, because you have to use your card for purchasing, and it will be obvious.
You can check your account balance all the time. They will have kiosks, so you don't have to go and queue up at reception anymore at guest services. All the cruise lines we've been on recently, they've had like little desk stations, little
like an ATM
like
type machine.
like an ATM. And then on your TV, some of the TVs on the remote, you go to your channel and you put in your number, and it'll come up with your account every day.
And the app as well.
So
You
it's
can generally
wonderful.
do that.
You can check how you're spending and how you're going. Every day. Travel agent is telling us we often have to explain locations of cabins to customers and what type of cabins they're going to have.
Ooh.
It's another one. I
was going to say you can make a whole video about that, but we already have. So check that one out if you're interested. We'll keep this quite brief. The types of cabin you can get, and you will pay more as you go up the scale, are from the inside cabin, ocean view, balcony, and then a whole series of suites, mini suites, full suites, penthouse suites. That's generally how the cabin type works. Now, there are also cabin categories, and the category is the location on the ship. The most desirable location for your cabin is midship, because it's more stable, followed by the rear of the ship, and then the front of the ship. So your cabins at the front of the ship will generally be the cheaper ones, followed by the ones at the rear of the ship, and then your most expensive ones will be in the middle. You will also find that the higher up the ship you get, in terms of the deck, the higher deck you're on, the more expensive the cabins will be. Now, it's not just necessarily about stability either, is it, in terms of cabins?
No, so I get seasick. I do suffer from seasickness. You just don't get used to it no matter how many times you go on a cruise ship. So I always take travel sickness tablets. I just get up in the morning, I just take them, even if it's like this and it's as calm as, just in case it starts to go. So I take the ones that are non-drowsy, which tend to be the ones that you buy from guest services actually on the ship. That's what I do now. I just go and buy them there and take them every day. However, apart from the waves, I get very sensitive to the engines, and it's not the engine noise. There's a vibration, there's a hum to the engines. We avoid those cabins because it can actually make me feel quite unwell for quite a long time.
It's generally at the back of the ship that you will feel that. Yeah.
So that's something that if you think you're going to be sensitive to that, stay well away from that. We have had cabins by the lifts. We've never had a problem with noise. No. By cabins being by the lifts ever. But what we have found is if you are directly underneath the Lido deck, and all cruisers will have a Lido deck, which is the open section of the deck that has the swimming pool and where you kind of sunbathe, and that's because they tend to be the hard wooden floors, and when people are moving those sunbeds around, you would be surprised. Again, it's the noise vibrates, and it vibrates through the ceiling of your cabin, and that's what you can hear is, and you can feel the vibration as well as the noise.
Yeah, we have been,
and it's so annoying. It just irritates the life out of us.
If you're concerned about things like the noise, is check out on the deck plan the cabins that you are thinking of purchasing, because if they are on the deck above or below things like the nightclub or the late night bars or those sorts of things, it could be that you will get some noise from them. What we generally do is we tend to pick a deck that's got cabins above and below, and we're fairly safe that way.
Yeah, we've been fine. Yeah. Now, I did recently, I would have liked to have shouted out to the content creators that put this video out. It's an Australian couple that have just started putting videos up, and they put a video up, and they had a balcony cabin on board one of the Carnival cruises. So it was a balcony, and it was classed as a restricted view balcony cabin. When they got there and they showed it, and they were like, there's just not a restriction. There was like a tiny bar in the corner that went across, and they said that must be the restricted view, but we've got nothing. It's this beautiful balcony. When they then posted on their next video the next day, there was some rigging, so like the rigging on the side of the ship that was to, I don't know whether it was for the lifeboats or something, that had chinged. And it chinged all night, and she said, it just ching, 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 ching against the side of the ship. And she said they think that when it said restricted view, that was like and some other kind of what would you call it? Some other kind of thing that would lessen your pleasure of being in that cabin. So I guess that's one to watch, is to find out, did it actually
check out on the deck plans and see what there is around, so that you're aware of what's going to be around your
because
cabin.
we have had restricted viewed cabins because they're you get a lot off them. They're very inexpensive, and they've been perfect for us. So
They
I
do
guess
save you a bit of money,
just
what have we
check
got left on the list?
Okay, so we've also got now this one we're going to just skip over this one, which is about explaining to customers the process of arriving, what it's like in terms of turning up at the designated line, about your luggage and everything, because that is a whole video in itself.
Actually, on our next cruise, we will go. We generally put our what we do on embarkation.
Our experience on embarkation.
But it is a very simplified version. Next time we go on a cruise, we will make an effort of picking out the different parts of the embarkation, where you put your luggage, what happens if you haven't got your tags, all that sort of thing. But just in general terms, you will generally get a boarding time. Please try and stick to that. There's a reason why they have boarding times. We once went on a cruise. It was a Princess cruise where they didn't have boarding times. 3,000 people turned up at 11:30 in the morning. It was a nightmare trying to get on the ship. So try and stick as closely as you can to your boarding times. They are there for a reason. There will be a drop-off. Generally speaking, you can drop your luggage off early. So if you're in Sydney, for example, you could drop your luggage off and go and have a look around the rocks. We've done that before. Drop the luggage off, gone around the markets at the rocks.
It's quite safe once it's checked in. You can't just walk away.
They will look after your luggage, and they will take it to your cabin. It will be delivered to your cabin. Now, once you've done that, when you go through the embarkation process, you will go through the check-in process. You will generally get your key card and confirm your payment details. You will go through security, which is very similar to an airport.
You go through security regardless of whether you are just going up and down the coast and you're not actually leaving the country. You're just, on some of these cruises, the 3 days, you're not going anywhere. You still will get the full security. So just be mindful of that, of what you're packing.
Yeah. And of course, on international cruises, you will have to go through the immigration process as well, border control. Yeah.
So just to say about the times when you rock up, I know a few of you may be saying we just go early, and we've always managed to go through early because we've got a lot of friends who say the same thing, but that is not always the case. We have been there where they've been very strict on your boarding times, and they've turned people away, and they've had to sit for a few hours, just kind of with a cup of coffee, just waiting until their boarding time.
Which is fine if you're somewhere like Sydney, but in Brisbane, where there's nothing really around, it's a little bit. So, sit and watch the water.
Yeah. Even that's not that pleasant, is it? And then about the smoking areas. So smoking and vaping. So vaping still comes under smoking. You're not allowed to vape in your room or on your own balcony.
No.
Very similar
to
well, just the same as smoking. Everybody kind of knows that smoking is restricted now. All the cruise ships that we have we're saying all that we've come across, there may be a few out there that don't, but all the major ones we've come across do have designated smoking areas. They are typically outside, but they will have a cover and a sheltered, so they're sort of semi-sheltered.
So we've seen some which are basically just a couple of chairs and on part of the deck. So.
And some non-smokers go and gate crash them because that's, as we all know, the smokers tend to jangle more. They tend to have more of a conversation and
Jangle.
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 Well, jangling, you know what jangling is. Do you know what jangling is? So that's where you just kind of talk to people. We're just
Okay.
kind of like over the fence kind of talking. So you can just talk a load of nonsense to each other. But that's what
Well,
smokers...
Les Dawson and Roy Barraclough style.
We were smoking back in the day. And that's where you always kind of struck up conversations with people. So, they're often quite lively places to go. So there you go.
There you go.
So
Those are all the questions.
That was it. That was all the questions. So we've got a few to revisit, like the one about embarkation. We will come back to you with
we will.
a special video for that.
So once again, big call out to Kat, Tiana, Dwayne, all the team at the Forest Lake Flight Centre. Thanks for looking after us. Thanks for giving us those questions to allow us to answer them for you. If you've liked this video, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and hit the notification button if you want to see more of our videos.
And as always, I would just wish you a very pleasant cruise if you've got one coming up. And if you haven't, start looking. What are you waiting for? Join in. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Bye
We'll see
now.
you in the next one. Bye.